You open your phone. A photo, a post, a few words sent into the digital sky. You wait. A second passes. Then a tiny red heart appears. Someone liked it. It's such a small thing, right? Just a pixel, a tap, a flicker of light. But somehow, it feels like warmth, like proof that you exist. We call it validation, and it's one of the most powerful forces that has ever driven the human mind. It shapes our relationships, our self-worth, our behavior, even our happiness. But here's the strange part. Our craving for approval isn't new. It didn't start with social media. It started long before civilization, before language, before me even existed, because the need to be liked is the reason our species survived. Imagine you're standing on the African savannah 100,000 years ago. You're not alone. You never are. You belong to a tribe of maybe 50 people. Hunters, gatherers, elders, children. To survive, you need them, and they need you. If they share food, you live. If they reject you, you die. In those days, approval wasn't about pride. It was about protection. Psychologists call it the belonging instinct, the deep, evolutionary need for social connection. Humans are wired for cooperation because we're built from vulnerability. We have no claws, no fangs, no armor. Our only defense was each other. So evolution rewarded the people who cared what others thought. Those who listened, adapted, cooperated, they stayed in the tribe. Those who didn't vanished into the dark. The roots of validation are ancient. They're carved into our nervous system. When someone accepts us, our brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical that bonds mothers to infants. When someone praises us, we get dopamine, the same pleasure we feel from food or shelter. Acceptance became a drug. Rejection became pain. And from that moment on, our species would spend the rest of its history trying to earn that feeling again and again. In small tribes, validation wasn't just emotional, it was economic. It was the first social currency. When people admired a hunter, others followed him. When they trusted a healer, she became essential. Reputation determined survival. Archaeologists even find early signs of this. Ornaments, tattoos, painted bodies, the first symbols of social identity. Each mark said, "I belong." It's no coincidence that the oldest cave art often shows hands, not animals, not tools, but humans saying, "I'm here." Even then, we wanted to be seen. Anthropologists have traced how this evolved into ritual, leadership, and morality. If validation could unite people, disapproval could control them. And so, the rules of reputation became law. To belong, we learned to manage how we were perceived. We hid our anger. We smiled when we didn't feel like it. We told stories that made us look brave, clever, good. In other words, we learned to perform, and that performance, that negotiation between who we are and who we want others to see, became the foundation of society. Fast forward thousands of years, tribes become cities, villages become empires, and the stage for validation expands. Now, approval isn't just survival, it's identity. It's religion, politics, art. Pharaohs built monuments taller than mountains, each one shouting, "Remember me!" Roman generals paraded through streets for applause that echoed across centuries. And even philosophers who claimed to reject vanity still wrote their names into history. We all want to be remembered. We all want to matter. Sociologists call this symbolic immortality, the human desire to leave traces that outlive us. Because deep down, every compliment, every recognition, every legacy whispers the same truth. I existed. I made a mark. But as civilization grew, validation became harder to measure. In tribes, everyone knew your worth. In cities, people needed proof titles, achievements, wealth. Approval turned into hierarchy. Reputation became currency again, only this time made of gold, status, and fame. We built mirrors everywhere, literal and social, to keep checking if we still mattered. And each age built its own mirror. The church, the court, the market, the stage, and now, the screen. Today, the tribe is global. 7 billion voices, all talking, all watching, all comparing. Social media didn't invent our need for validation. It industrialized it. Every like, every view, every follow taps into the same neural circuitry that once kept us alive around the fire. Except now, the tribe never sleeps. For our ancestors, validation came from 50 familiar faces. Now it comes from millions of strangers, and that changes everything. Because when approval becomes infinite, it also becomes fragile. We no longer ask, "Do they accept me?" We ask, "How many of them do?" Our worth becomes arithmetic. And the brain can't tell the difference between digital rejection and real exile. Studies show that when someone gets unfollowed or ignored online, the same pain centers activate as when we experience physical harm. That's how ancient this reflex is. But unlike tribal life, the modern version never ends. No matter how much validation we get, it fades quickly like sugar in the bloodstream. So we crave more. And the cycle repeats. Psychologists call it variable reward conditioning. It's the same system casinos use, unpredictable reinforcement that keeps you coming back. Every refresh could bring new approval or nothing. And that uncertainty is what hooks us most. But the deeper problem isn't the platforms. It's that the human brain is chasing something the world can't give it permanent belonging. And that doesn't exist. Here's the paradox. The more we chase validation, the less validated we feel. Because approval isn't designed to last. It's a momentary echo of something much deeper connection. When applause fades, silence returns. When likes stop, loneliness speaks louder. And no amount of external noise can replace internal certainty. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once wrote, "Hell is other people," but what he really meant wasn't hatred, it was dependence. When our identity depends entirely on how others see us, we lose control of ourselves. That's why people who live for approval often end up feeling hollow, because their self-worth becomes outsourced. It's why performers, influencers, leaders, even those adored by millions, often describe feeling invisible when they're alone. Fame amplifies validation, but it doesn't cure insecurity. And yet, the need to be seen isn't evil. It's simply misplaced, because what we're really searching for isn't validation. It's recognition, not the shallow kind that says, "You're good," but the quiet kind that says, "I see you." True validation doesn't come from applause. It comes from resonance, from being understood. And that kind of approval can only come from connection, not comparison. If our need for validation is ancient, can we ever escape it? Maybe not entirely, but we can learn to master it instead of serving it. It starts by realizing that validation is neither good nor bad. It's information. It tells us when we belong, when we connect, when we impact others. But it becomes poison when we confuse it for truth. The trick isn't to stop caring what others think. It's to choose which voices matter. In tribal times, that circle was small, maybe a dozen people whose opinions shaped your world. Today, we have to rebuild that circle consciously, to remember that not every opinion deserves entry into our nervous system. The ancient brain still listens to the crowd, but the wise mind chooses its tribe. When you seek validation, pause and ask, do I want approval or understanding? Approval says, you're good because I say so. Understanding says, you're good because you are. The first fades. The second frees. We can't kill the instinct to belong, and we shouldn't. It's the reason we build families, friendships, art, and civilizations. But belonging built on authenticity is the cure for validation built on performance. So, if you find yourself chasing likes or praise, remember this: your ancestors didn't survive because everyone liked them. They survived because someone needed them, and they returned that need with meaning. We don't need everyone to see us. We just need a few to really see us. That's how tribes began. That's how they still begin. The need for validation is not weakness, it's history. But the courage to define your own worth, that's evolution. You're not wrong for wanting to be seen. You're human. Just make sure the person seeing you includes yourself. So the next time you post something, share something, or simply speak into the world, and you start waiting for that tiny flicker of approval, remember that feeling is ancient. It's your mind's way of saying, stay connected. But also, remember, you already are. This is Originify, where we uncover the hidden origins of human emotion and remember that every instinct has a story. Keep wondering and keep being real, even when nobody's watching.